After a slow start, we're dealt ace-queen offsuit in the big blind, the button raises to 125. My good friend Jake calls in the small blind. You may remember him all the way back from episode 2 over 8 years ago when him and I went to Laughlin together to play 2-5. I've known him since I moved out to Vegas in 2012. We used to play every day together at Red Rock. Now, we're both playing nosebleed stakes in Bobby's room. It's a cool feeling. It's like if you grew up playing Little League with someone, then flash forward several years, and all of a sudden, you're playing against each other at Yankee Stadium. Just because we're friends doesn't mean that I'm going to go easy on him. I 3-bet to 700. Winning without resistance would be an okay result since we don't even have a pair. The button folds. He's who I was most concerned about. The small blind isn't really supposed to call with any combinations after only flatting the initial raise. He calls anyway, which I could see him doing with suited connectors or small pocket pairs. We're heads up in position. The flop comes Queen Jack 8 rainbow. We've got top. Small blind checks. It's a very connected board, so I'm tempted to check back just so we have a better chance of getting to showdown. I almost do it, then I think to myself, this is such a better flop for us than it is for our opponent. Earlier on in the session, I saw him 3-bet the button with Jack 10 offsuit from the small blind. I imagine he'd do the same thing with Queen Jack, and he's supposed to 3-bet 10-9 suited at an extremely high frequency, so I can rule out those hands that beat us. He's almost never going to have a set of queens, jacks, or even eights very often when he doesn't 3-bet, so there really aren't many two-pair better hands that I'm concerned about the small blind having. We're clear to bet with a massive range advantage. I fire for 1,000. Our top pair is vulnerable, so I don't want to go with the small sizing. Jake isn't going to let me take it down with continued aggression. He puts in the min check raise to 2,000. Damn it. Maybe I miscalculated something and we should have checked back. There's an interesting raise size from Jake because it puts a ton of pressure on me without him risking too much. In the off chance that he has a set or straight, I'm drawing near dead. If I call, I'll only have about 6,000 left, which would be a bit more than a pot-sized bet, and there's a very good chance that the small blind will jam the turn. I hate being in these kind of spots, especially at the beginning of the session. They rarely go my way, particularly lately, and then, if it goes poorly, I'm playing catch-up for the remainder of the day, battling to hopefully just get unstuck. I'm tempted to cut the losses and fold because the downside's massive, but we're getting such a good price, and we have removal to Queen Jack, which is the main hand I think the opponent is representing. I remember that Petrangelo's told me in the past, we can't worry about what happens on future streets, we have to make the best decision we can in the moment based on what we have, what our opponent can have, and the odds that we're getting. In this instance, we're getting a great price, so I call for 1,000 more, but I'm not feeling too optimistic. The turn is the deuce of spades. It's an absolute blank. There's no way that this changes anything. I have 6150 total. Our frenemy has us covered. He's going to apply maximum pressure.
Basically, think like pocket 18. Have here.
This is an interesting quip from Jake. I'm not really sure what to make of it. The problem is that if we're behind, we could actually be drawing dead at this point. There's no backup plan of hitting a straight or flush if the opponent has a stat or better. If we put an extra 6,150 into this pot, it could put us in a 10k hole immediately. On the other hand, there are some bluffs that make sense that the small blind can have, consisting of combos containing either a 9 or 10. I'm just having a hard time trying to figure out how the small blind can have many value combos. The more I think about it, the more I think the opponent's bluffing. Thinking is what usually gets me in trouble, but I can't get away. We don't have much. We're going to play for all of it anyway.
Alright, I call.
What's the choice?
I might be drawing dead, so.
I don't care what we do.
What do you have? Jack 9. But just go, we'll go twice.
We're playing an $18,000 all-in pot. We have step 1 complete of getting it in good, but you may remember we played about a $20,000 pot at the beginning of the last high-stakes session you saw in the previous vlog. We got it in as a 95.5% favorite on the turn, and the opponent drilled the 2-outer on the first run out. In this instance, we're favored again, but our opponent has a lot more outs. He can hit a jack, 9, or 10 to beat us. The first river is the 7 of spades. We lock up half the pot. Our gutsy all-in call at least won't cost us any money. Now we have the chance at scooping the entire thing if we can hold on the second run out. The dealer somewhat slowly puts out the 8 of spades. It pairs the board, but doesn't improve our opponent. We had to make a tough decision to risk everything. It pays off for us to think things through. We catch our friend attempting to semi-bluff us. I admire his guts, but he ends up getting punished. Finally, we scoop a massive pot to start a session and be up big right away. With this whole pot coming our direction, we go from being down about 1,200 to being up almost 8,000. About 15 minutes later, we're dealt Jack-9 offsuit in the big blind. The hijack raises to 125. He's the opponent we won a $23,000 pot against at the tail end of the last vlog. He needs to get revenge. I'll give him some action. After all, we're playing him with his own money. I call for 75 more. We're heads up out of position. The flop comes Jack-8-4 rainbow. We've got top pair with a backdoor straight draw. I check. The hijack isn't someone to throw in the white flag often. He makes a small c-bet of 100. Our hand is actually quite vulnerable with 3 overcards that can come out, and even a 9 might not be a good card for us, so we can check raise this tiny c-bet at about a 50% frequency. You can't see it, but I actually cut my chips to randomize in order to determine whether we're going to call or raise. If the $100 chip I cut to has the 1 facing to one side, let's say between 12 and 6 o'clock on the right side, then I'll call. If I randomize and the 1 is pointing to the left side between 12 and 6, I'll check raise. In this instance, I roll a more passive line and I just call. We're seeing an inexpensive turn card. The dealer puts out the deuce of spades. It's a blank. I check to the pre-flop and flop aggressor. He slows down and checks back. I doubt he'd do that with a jack or better on such a brick turn that shouldn't have changed anything. We almost certainly have the lead. The river is another 4. There won't be many 4s in the opponent's range when he opens from the hijack. It's in theory a better card for us because we'll have plenty of 4s. I'm treating the river card as if it's a blank, as I bet 600 for value. Ideally, this will look like I've missed with a number of straight draws that were present on the flop, like Queen 10, 10 9, 9 7, 7 6, 6 5, and even a few others. Maybe we can get called by middling pocket pair or perhaps even ace high if the opponent doesn't believe that we're as strong as we are. The hijack calls, we turn over our top pair to show that we went with a large sizing for value. The opponent shows that he surprisingly got there on us.
What the f***? Come on, man.
The opponent drills trips on the river with 5-4 clubs. I said that he wouldn't have many 4s when he opens from the hijack, but I didn't say that he'd have 0. He gets the win. Here we're dealt Jack-8 suited in the big blind. The button raises to 125. We can call, or actually mix in some 3 bets. I call to ensure that we're able to get to the flop. We're heads up out of position. The flop comes 10-4 deuce rainbow. We don't have much except 1 over and some backdoor draws. I check. It's not too coordinated of a board, and it favors the pre-flop aggressor's range since she can have all the sets and overpairs. The button bets 125 again. Calling with hopes of getting some dream run out that results in us hitting a big hand isn't all that appealing. As is, we have virtually no showdown value. We do need to include quite a few bluffs in our range against a small sizing on a flop like this. When it's button versus big blind, we can bluff with some straight draws and other combos that somewhat connect with the low cards on the board. Then we can incorporate some combos like ours that connect with the high card and can improve on a lot of turns. I check raise to 400 to attack the wide c-bet range and give us the opportunity to win this pot right now without necessarily having to make a strong hand. People tend to c-bet at too high of a frequency and overfold to check raises. Our play is extremely effective against opponents who fit this mold. The button folds in this instance. It's a small pot, but it's one that we win today that maybe we wouldn't have won a few years ago when we weren't as familiar with this spot. All the little wins eventually add up to significantly improve the bottom line at the end of the year.